待ちかねたぜ。
This trailer was all I needed to convince me to watch Lupin the Third. A new theatrical film was finally being released for the first time in 23 years, if you exclude the Detective Conan crossover. But it wasn't the story or the beautifully rendered CGI that got me interested in the franchise, but rather the style. The trailer barely tells you anything about the story, and I can't even understand the language anyways, and although the CGI and animation is fantastic, it doesn't mean the product will be good. Just look at the Emoji Movie. The entire franchise is also an anime as well, so the CGI doesn't really speak for the quality of the rest of the franchise when it's 2D animation. But what this trailer did capture me with was its style. It was energetic, it was having fun, the music was Mr. Bombastic, and Lupin might as well have turned me gay. I already loved the character before I even knew his first name, and I was convinced after the short 1 minute long trailer that I would be seeing this movie. Now, I wasn't completely ignorant of the Lupin franchise before seeing the trailer, as I had noticed that one of the Sonic social media influencers by the name of Sergio had a Lupin the Third profile picture for his Twitter, and Matt, the former owner of Tails channel, had tweeted about it saying it was the king of anime films. So I searched it up and saw it had 4 parts. The first part dating all the way back to the 70s, and so I was like, old cartoons, ew. And then I was even more turned off when I realized each part wasn't one movie. Each part was an entire television series. But then I learned the true meaning of Lupin the Third. It's all episodic with barely any continuity, except for part 5. But yeah, with the announcement that Lupin the First will be coming to North America in 2020, which is this year, what better time would it be to take a look at the franchise as a whole, and maybe, hopefully, introduce you guys to it too if you haven't already seen it. So why do I love Lupin the Third? What about it actually stuck to me? Basically, it's the perfect combination of American media and Japanese media. Lupin the Third really stuck out compared to other anime because it was heavily influenced by American culture. One of its main inspirations is literally James Bond, which really explains its over-the-top physics-defying action scenes. But not only that, while watching Lupin the Third, I really got Saturday morning cartoon vibes from it. The television series are basically just Saturday morning cartoons, but for adults. It felt oddly nostalgic to me, even though I had never seen any Lupin the Third media prior to starting it last year. I also shouldn't discount parts 1, 2, and 3, which, come on guys, these are literally Saturday morning cartoons at this point.
Hey, hold on now! Are you really Lupin?
That's what my mama calls me.
But yeah, with its heavy influence from American culture, I felt like I was covering familiar ground. And the fact that this is also an anime breathed a lot of fresh air. This isn't your generic shonen or slice of life or isekai. This is a heist show. This is an action show with guns instead of magic lighty swords. The designs of the characters are unique as well. They've really stayed true to the art style whilst also updating it to look good alongside modern anime. And these characters still look great. They have faces you wouldn't see from a lot of anime these days, and it really helps you set it apart from anything else. Just like Naruto or Goku, these designs are iconic. Or at least they have the potential to be iconic. Lupin the Third is pretty popular in Japan and Italy, but anywhere else it's really insignificant. I can barely find legal means to watch Lupin the Third in Australia. Crunchyroll has Lupin the Third parts 1 through 5, but only parts 4 and 5 are available in Australia. On Anime Lab, it's the same deal, but part 4 is dubbed, and you do not want to watch it dubbed. There's also the terrible live-action movie from 2014, the terrible one.
Just one little kiss.
They don't even have Castle of Cagliostro, which is the go-to thing Lupin fans say when someone asks them which Lupin movie they'd recommend. Thankfully, some of the more recent Lupin the Third OVAs and TV movies are on iTunes, but that's still nothing for a franchise that's over 50 years old. But anyways, back to the positives. We were talking about character designs. I'd actually really love to give props to the guys who've redesigned Fujiko Mine over the years. She's the femme fatale of the Lupin the Third series, Lupin's love interest. So naturally, she has to be an attractive character, and let me tell you something, 70s art styles are not very attractive. And because of this, she's probably the one character who's gone through the most drastic redesigns of the franchise, and it's especially noteworthy when you can make such drastic changes to a character yet still know it's them. I also adore the fact that she isn't just there to be eye candy for horny men. She has character to her, which makes her fun to see on screen, as is all the Lupin gang. Lupin himself is a goofy yet charming and intelligent thief. Jigen is a gruff gunman whose loyalty for Lupin has no bounds. Goemon is a samurai who's grown up away from modern civilization and is kind of like a man out of time. And Zenigata is the inspector who's dedicated to capturing Lupin, and whilst he's an obstacle to the gang, I love how you don't see him as an antagonist. He's merely just a cop trying to do the right thing.
Now what I'm looking forward to? Seeing him finally serve his debt to society. And buy him a drink when he's done. It's the only way to make him realize he needs to change his ways. I need to appeal to Lupin's heart.
You also have to remember that Lupin, while a criminal, isn't a bad person either, and you have to root for him. As I mentioned before, they made Lupin a charming character. He's fun to be around, and he has a really hot spot for women. He wouldn't dare to hurt one unless that woman was also really bad. He steals things, sure, but he doesn't do it because he's a petty criminal. He does it for the thrills. He enjoys the challenge and will always steal from rich dudes who wouldn't actually suffer from their loss. Jigen is also not a bad person. He's a hitman with no sense of remorse when shooting police officers, sure, but he doesn't really kill people out of hatred. At the end of the day, all he's trying to do is help his good buddy Lupin steal a treasure, and shooting people may be necessary to do so. Goemon takes a more pacifist route. He refrains from killing others and mostly defends himself by destroying the weapons of his foes. He's also kinda meant to be a cute character because he's the man out of time.
Because you stand out way too much.
I doubt they find Japanese people strange.
You know that's not my point, right?
He's unfamiliar with modern customs and technology, so he comes off as socially awkward in an endearing way. Lupin and his friends will almost always come against an actual villain, and half the time Lupin and Zenigata form a truce to stop the main villain. The main antagonist then becomes someone who plans to take over the world or hurt Lupin out of hatred or selfish desires, so then Lupin suddenly becomes the hero. Whether it be saving the damsel in distress or stopping an evil time traveler, at the end of the day, he's pitted against real evil. Lupin and his gang also share my favorite character archetype, which is basically the perfect character. You can kind of see this in characters like Sonic and the Doctor. Sure, these characters are not literally perfect, they struggle and grow in the media they're presented in, but most of the growing comes from the people they touch. Sonic is a mainly static character, but Tails, Knuckles, and Amy have all grown because they met him. The Doctor, whilst grows quite a lot personally, is still the super smart savior of the planet and acts as a catalyst to help his companions grow. They're just normal everyday people, then suddenly they get pulled into a world of wonder and either die or come out of it as better people. Lives changed forever. Lupin is like this as well, as he meets a variety of characters on his travels. I think the best example of this is in part 4. Not only does he meet Rebecca, who becomes a recurring character throughout the entire part, but there are also many one-off stories where Lupin touches the lives of people ranging from school teachers to literal ghosts. And again, this emphasizes how, despite Lupin being a criminal, he's not really a bad person. So Lupin the III sounds like a fantastic anime, right? But strangely, it's still very niche to a Western audience. Like I said, I literally found out about the show because it was linked to Sonic in many ways. In fact, Sega actually owns the rights to Lupin the III animations, since their animation company, TMS Entertainment, produces the anime. And their latest movie, Lupin the III the First, is animated by Masa Animation Planet, who are owned by Sega as well, and are heavily involved in most CGI animation in Sonic games, and played a significant role animating the Sonic movie, so it naturally piqued my interest. But if you're just a normie old man watching James Bond, I find it highly unlikely you'd ever run into Lupin the III. As I stated before already, Lupin the III was heavily inspired by Western media, yet it has failed to catch the attention of both weebs and a general Western audience. Instead, it's got a pretty significant LGBT following.
Find Daisuke Jigen. As Lupin's lover, wherever he goes, Lupin will be close by.
What the hell? Whose lover?
Hey!
The reason why I love the anime so much is that it's a great mix between Western and Japanese media. So why hasn't it gained that much traction in the West? Well, firstly is probably the lack of promotion. There is very little promotion for Lupin the Third media over here in the West. We barely get any trailers or cool events or merch or anything. Take Goodbye Partner as an example. It was a Lupin the Third TV movie that released last year. If you search for a trailer on YouTube, all you'll find is a dubbed clip for it on YouTube Movies. That's it. Sure, you'll find the Japanese trailers, but those are all irrelevant because, you know, Japanese. You're not going to get the attention of a Western audience with a Japanese trailer unless you already are a fan of the franchise and follow it closely. And if you look at the official TMS YouTube channel, they only have 9 videos on Lupin the Third. I have to say the promotion is done slightly better on Twitter, but because TMS has such a small following, I'm afraid to say that the promoting doesn't reach very far. The limited selection also doesn't help either. Australia's selection is very limited, as I already explained, and while America's selection of Lupin media is a lot better, it's still very limited in terms of the streaming side of things. A lot more Lupin has been brought into the Americas through DVDs, but again, those DVDs aren't very widely produced. A lot of publishers have also just straight up lost the licensing to continue making them, so you're mostly going to find them secondhand. But that's all my modern problems with Lupin the Third. Lupin has been here for over 50 years, and it had a lot of problems when it first released, which could have also affected its popularity today. You see, back when Lupin was in its infancy, the series had a lot more crude content to it. Lupin was apparently much more of a sexual predator kind of character, and I guess something like that wouldn't have done well in our Western culture. On top of that, there was this whole copyright ordeal because Lupin the Third is basically just a fanfiction. He's the grandson of some French gentleman thief called Arsène Lupin. Oh, you think the name Arsène is familiar? It's Joker's persona from Persona 5? Glad you noticed, because Persona 5 stemmed from the idea of what if Lupin the Third was put into the modern world. So if you like Persona 5, then maybe check out this Lupin the Third character. But yeah, Lupin is not actually an original idea, and while it was fine to publish the fan fiction in Japan, American copyright laws would not allow it, and so they had to change Lupin's name to The Wolf. Now, you can see that there would be a disconnect between people who watched The Wolf when they were younger and the people who watched Lupin the Third once the copyright for the name Arsène Lupin expired. It's possible that people maybe did enjoy Lupin in his The Wolf days, but when the name for the main character changes during a period where the internet was also young, probably meant that a lot of people just kind of forgot about the franchise. They probably thought it just ended. And with the lack of promotion, it was very unlikely that they see the Wolf's face pop up again under his new name. Okay, so this video is past 10 minutes, and I didn't really get to talk about everything I wanted to, but I hope this gives you a brief look into what Lupin the Third is, and encourages you to watch it. Before I end the video, I want to basically give you a short review on every Lupin media I've watched, and give you a sense of what's good and bad, because, like I said, 50 years, there's a lot of Lupin the Third media out there, and it's not perfect, so off we go. Pilot film. It's a stupid pilot, not worth watching seriously, but you can for the sake of it. Part 1. Only seen one episode, kinda boring and outdated, but I wouldn't say you shouldn't watch it. Part 2. Only seen 4 episodes, and the animation is outdated, and the stories are kinda lame, but the dub they made in the mid-2000s makes the show a lot funnier, and I would definitely recommend it. Secret of Mamo, or Mystery of Mamo, or Lupin vs. Clone. An amazing movie that shows you a side of the Lupin characters you normally wouldn't see. Castle of Cagliostro. A fun movie with an ending that will leave you disappointed. Legend of the Gold of Babylon. Awful and boring. The Fuma Conspiracy. A decent Lupin adventure, but strangely family friendly. The character whose personality is gun doesn't even use a gun. Pursuit of Harry Mao's Treasure. A good Lupin adventure with a very strange ending, but I'll say the ending makes it one of the more unique Lupin TV movies. Dead or Alive. Watched this because the creator of Lupin the Third, Monkey Punch, directed it, but found out he only directed the beginning and the end action scenes of the movie, which I did really enjoy. The rest of the movie is really boring and dumb though. Island of Assassins. Decent and fun, but doesn't really stand out. Alcatraz Connection. I love the San Francisco setting for this one, and the groovy remix of the Lupin theme they made really cemented the opening for this TV movie for me. Episode 0, First Contact. I found it bland, but I liked the ending. It made the TV movie stay true to the Lupin franchise. Operation Return the Treasure. Have you ever wondered, what if Lupin had to return treasures rather than steal them? Well, this is the TV movie for you, and it's fun as heck. Angel Tactics has an amazing opening sequence set in Area 51 before becoming a decent Lupin adventure, nothing too special. A 7-Day Rhapsody. This one has terrible animation, but I feel like the writing saved it enough to be another decent TV movie. Elusiveness of the Fog. This one is more of a fun and entertaining Lupin TV movie. It involves time travel, but the time traveling leaves a lot of plot holes, so don't think about it too hard. Red vs. Green. This TV movie tries to be more artsy and attempts to connect all the Lupin media together since the entire franchise lacks continuity, but it fell flat for me and it just left me confused. Sweet Lost Night. It's an energetic Lupin TV movie, but I feel as if it kind of drags around the end. Lupin III vs. Detective Conan. I didn't like it. I felt like the TV movie was more geared towards the Detective Conan fans. The Last Job. I think this is a fantastic Lupin TV movie, but the animation is kinda off. Blood Seal of the Eternal Mermaid. We're now in the 2010s, and Lupin has gotten a big makeover. We got a whole new art style, and the writing is a lot better. I feel like this one is one of the better Lupin TV movies, and I love how off the rail the ending becomes. Lupin Family Lineup. This is just a 10-minute short, but it's worth watching for the fun of it. The Woman Called Khomeni. This is the 4th Lupin TV series, but it serves as a spin-off prequel. In my opinion, it's a fantastic take on the Lupin franchise, as they try to bring the show closer to its original manga. So if you watch it, you're going to be seeing a lot of anime titties. Lupin III vs. Detective Conan, the movie. This is a sequel to the first Detective Conan crossover, but instead of making it a TV movie, they decided to create a full theatrical movie, so it improves in terms of animation, and the opening sequence is really hype, but again, I feel like it's more geared towards the Detective Conan fans. Jigen's Gravestone. This OVA is a spiritual successor to The Woman Called Khomeni, and is one of the more engaging pieces of media on this list. Part 4. I loved the series as it pretty much cemented my love for Lupin. Just make sure to watch it in sub though, because the dub lacks what is basically the best TV opening ever. Part 4 specials. These OVAs were integrated into the Part 4 dub, but if you watch in sub then definitely check them out as they definitely add to the story. The Italian Game. This is just 2 episodes of Part 4 plus one of the OVAs glued together with 20 minutes of extra animation to try to tell an overarching story. That does not work. The Blood Spray of Goemon Ishikawa, a sequel to Jigen's Gravestone, which I think is better in every way. Part 5, another fantastic Lupin III series that tells an engaging overarching story with lovable characters and fun throwbacks to past Lupin media. Is Lupin Still Burning? The Sonic Generations of Lupin III. Goodbye Partner, another Lupin TV movie that's on par with Blood Seal of the Eternal Mermaid. They even share in having a ridiculous ending, but the title is a bit misleading. Fujiko's Lie, the sequel to Jigen's Gravestone and The Blood Spray of Goemon Ishikawa. It's a fantastic OVA which makes you wonder about Fujiko's motives. Does she want to help this Shota out or steal his money? Prison of the Past. The animation is pretty weak in this one, but it's still fun and left a good impression on me. And finally, Lupin III the First. Actually, I'm not going to talk about this one. If you want to see what I think about the movie, then subscribe to this channel, because I'm just going to dedicate an entire video to reviewing it. So if you did like this video, please give me a like, and like at the end of every video, I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Also donate to my Patreon, please.